Welcome to the backyard. Last year in the fall, I found a cow skull in a field while I was doing some track work for a railroad. So I threw it in the bucket of the excavator and brought it home. The problem with the cow skull is it was still a little bit dirty and it was just packed inside the brain cavities. I looked online and the solution, cheapest solution, is to bury it and let the worms have their way with it. So the cow skull is under here, and I'll show you some before pictures that show what it looked like before I started. Here's the before picture. You can see there's still a lot of compost stuck to the skull and really jammed in there. There's also bits of fur and lots of pupa casings from flies that have molted and since flown away. So let's dig it up. We've had almost a year in the ground. We've had some nice warm weather. When I buried it, I put soil and leaves and some compost around it to encourage the worms to have their way with it. So we're going to have a moment of truth here. Let's see what we have. I see there's a hole underneath our marker here. Take you in close. We've got a hole there and a corresponding hole there and there. And little spiders crawling all over the place. I wonder if those holes correspond to the eye socket. I put some concrete chunks around it just to mark the perimeter so that I don't accidentally hit it with a shovel and damage it. And the goal is I'll dig it out, and then I've got the pressure washer out because I'm pressure washing the deck today. So we'll clean it up as best we can. And from what I've read, you can use peroxide to ensure, oh, what's this? I don't know what that was. Something that was underground. You can use peroxide to bleach it. Bleach hurts the bone. It can digest it and dissolve it and make it weak. So peroxide seems to be the recommended thing to use. So we're just going to very carefully pull this back. That is in fact part of the skull. There's the ridge. There it is. It's a fairly large one. I think that this cow may have died from natural causes because it was on a dairy farm and there's no puncture wound here. I think sometimes they use some kind of a thing when they euthanize a cow that just punches a hole and puts them out so they don't suffer. I'm just gonna do this by hand. You see the little snout here is a little loose, so you want to be careful here. It's like an archaeological dig, but yeah, in fact, the eye sockets are hollow. I think the little worms have done their job. There's still a little bit of tissue in here, but there's a little slug. So the teeth are loose. But this is vastly improved. Yeah, we've got there's a pill bug, and a couple of little slugs. But the majority of it has been removed. So we're going to throw the pressure washer on it, clean the rest out, and then let the peroxide do its magic. We'll have a bleached cow skull. You can see there's the molars. They're kind of loosey-goosey. I'm going to try to keep them in place, but if they fall out, I can glue them back in. A little bit of tissue left. It's mostly just fur at this point. Some right there too. I had some black fur. Yeah. Those with a sensitive stomach may not want to be watching this, but so as you can imagine what's going to happen, I see a lot of slugs in here. I think the slugs have been doing some work for me. When I hit this with the pressure washer, it's going to hit all these crevices and it's going to come back at me. So I'm going to put on some eye protection. We'll take this over to our concrete area and give her a good wash down. Okay, gently. I'll put you back at a safe distance. As you can see, all of our patio furniture is out here too. There's the deck that I just pressure washed. It's in pretty good shape, but just every few years, every 5 or 6 years, it needs a fresh coat of the semi-transparent stain. These little black casings are from the pupa stage of a fly, and that's the final developmental stage. The fly forces its way out of this case and then takes off. So that gives us a little background on what we're looking at. Of course, this thing was packed with them because the maggots had done their thing eating the organic material inside that skull. I'm going to do a little nose picking. The pressure washer removed a lot of the loose material and made a big difference in cleaning this up. But we still had some staining in the bone, probably from fats and oils, and we needed to sanitize this so that there were no microbes that could cause problems with handling. All right, here's my solution for soaking this cow skull in hydrogen peroxide. It turns out that the trash can in the kitchen was ideally suited. That's the very top of the skull, just poking through there, just under the surface. So I added hydrogen peroxide and we got some nice bubble action here. There's still some of the maggot pupae sort of coming out of the recesses of the skull. And you can see the bubbly action going on here. I'm going to try not to drop my phone in that mess. And then I found out I diluted the peroxide probably closer to 3 to 1. I had 1 gallon in here, maybe 4 to 1 at this point, because then I had to fill it up to cover the skull. And I was cleaning my deck and realized that the prep solution is also a peroxide solution. So I added a sprinkle of that in there. We'll see what happens. Okay, we are now at the degreasing step. The skull is immersed in this bubbly hot water with Dawn dish detergent. I'll let that soak for a few days. Supposedly that will remove the greases and fats that are in the bone structure, help reduce any smell that could occur. Once that sits for a few days, we'll check the water and see if it's clear. Once it starts coming up clean with each successive rinse, then we'll be able to bring the skull out and do a final rinse down, get it ready for display. Okay, I just dumped some of this out to see what we're doing here, and it smells much better. I think a lot of the grease is removed. You can see the water is a little discolored. So I'm going to dump it out, do one more soap and water rinse, and then we'll do a final peroxide rinse and it'll be done. All right, after a little more soaking and rinsing, we got all the oils out of the bone, and then I added some peroxide. This is the finished product. Looks really good. I continued to rinse until all of the larvae casings, the molting casings, came out. And it smells like hair products because my wife's hairdresser had some leftover peroxide that I used as the final cleansing rinse. And so it smells like a hairdo, which is not a bad thing. Bessie will hang from the wall of our saloon with picture hanger wire and a little bracket. I always appreciate your support. Be sure to hit like and subscribe to follow my projects.